Hi, I'm Nathan,
And I'm Katie.
and you're listening to the Content Marketing Lounge podcast.
Okay, so my shock was at how many people you had blocked. So
The number of people
yes,
in total?
Yes. So how did this conversation start? Besides me just going like, why have you blocked so many people?
Well, first of all, the number is 2,638 people blocked and I just added them up. Like in total, in the 3.5 years since I've had the group, 7,999 people. one short of 8,000. That's a remarkable number.
So you have screened 8,000 people. Basically.
I have. I look at the profile of every single person that requests to join.
Like you actually click on their profile.
Yeah.
You don't just look at their answers.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's about 5 to 10 people a day that do that.
Yes,
and
lately
I do them mostly on my phone. But yeah, I blocked almost exactly a third of them. So a third of the people who've joined have either been blocked from the outset or gotten themselves blocked for various offenses,
right?
while participating in the group.
2 soccer yellow cards, I believe, as you put it.
I usually don't give warnings, but sometimes I do. But yeah, if you get a warning and then you do whatever I don't want you to do again, then definitely you're gonna.
Yeah, right.
But I think in the so we should set this up. So the reason I think that was so remarkable to you was that I think that most communities, at least that I've seen, don't seem to be policed very heavily.
They're not very exclusive. Yeah, like if you can answer the questions right, you basically get in, is what I feel like. Now, that's not professional organizations necessarily, or like I say organizations, professional leaning Facebook groups. Like I'm in a whole bunch of Facebook groups right now. It's kind of an experiment. I feel like I've been running socially of like, what is Facebook for and why am I even on it and what can I get out of it? So like I joined a Keanu Reeves fan group the other day, like just to see what's going on. And I kid you not, the members post like 20 memes about Keanu Reeves a day. And I'm like, okay, this group might be a bit much for me.
He's everywhere right now.
I know. And that's part of the joke is that there is a group now and everyone's joking about it. But so I'm in a ton of groups and most of them have some sort of like for instance, if I join some from the podcast that I listen to, they have like code words or something. They're looking for you to answer to these questions.
Oh,
so that you're at least part of the in-group that knows what you're getting into.
Yeah.
You kind of have to prove that you like listen to the podcast or whatever. But this is one of the only, I think, professional ones that I have joined. And obviously I'm a very active part of it now, but it's been interesting to see your process then when you filter through all these questions and how you use those questions. And then like, again, like it's, most people in a lot of the Facebook groups I'm in have to do something pretty egregious to get blocked. Even if it's just mildly pissing off the moderator or the admins, that'll get you blocked. But you still usually have to do something. So for me to go in and be like, how have you blocked 2,500 people? That's what I guess I was confused about. Now it's up to 2638. Yeah,
and growing.
Right.
Let's back up just a little bit, and I'll let's provide some context to the broader like content marketing, like the place in which a group, a Facebook group, or a really any type of community. So you might own a forum, you might have like a board somewhere on your site that you host. I know there was a company that was a competitor of company that I was working for years ago that had like an online forum that was behind their login, so nobody could get to it except for their customers.
Just members. Yeah,
it was just their customers that would kind of have a place like that. And I've had like there are a couple of technology products that I've had over the years that have had like a forum like that where you can go. It's basically a place to ask questions when you have something break in the software.
Well, yeah, and that was going to be my next question. Like, I can Google and find tons of forums on, like, Apple. Yeah. Support.apple.com or whatever, all kinds of stuff like that. So.
A community is a little different in that it's meant to be more of a discussion forum. So, really, the two places that are the most prominent right now are Reddit, and then Facebook groups are really powerful places where communities are being built. And I think that the traditional play for people trying to build an audience, whether that's for a company or for your personal brand, the traditional play has always been email lists.
Okay.
And an email list is
opted in.
Yeah, that's the traditional play, like, right? You create some content of some kind. Usually it's a blog post in the world of content marketing, and you hope people find that blog post through either some promotion efforts that you do, social media. You're hoping it goes viral.
Yeah, right.
You're hoping there's something that happens right after you publish it that gets people to see it, or you're hoping it gets picked up in Google and people find it through organic search. So it's either a social media play that they find your stuff by, or it's an organic play, an inbound. Inbound would be the term there, where they find your stuff, opt in because they either like your thing so much, or you have some content upgrade, or you have something valuable that they want behind an opt-in form, and then you have them on your list, and then you can email them. But that's for the most part, that's a broadcast mechanism. Like, it's not really a dynamic community of people all kind of in one place.
By broadcast, you mean like it's a one-way communication. It's not two-way communication.
Correct.
It's not interactive.
Now, it can be. Like, anybody who's had this happen on my email list, occasionally people will respond. They'll click reply on my emails. But for some reason, we don't usually do that. Like, I can't remember. I think only 1 or 2 times have I ever actually clicked reply to an email that I knew was a broadcast marketing email, and actually wrote back to the person or company that sent the email.
Yeah.
That's just not the way. You don't normally quote comment on an email. Like, you usually don't do that. And most people won't. So I've never gotten more than a couple of emails back, even on times when I've specifically sent a broadcast email to my list and said, hey, write me back.
Yeah, right.
Like, people don't usually click reply. They usually just don't do that.
Yeah.
A community, however, is the analogy I've always had in my head has been like the bar after a really good conference, like the hotel bar at 6 p.m. Really later than that, like 7, 8 p.m. when you're flying out the next day.
You told me about this recently.
Yeah.
Because of the image that you chose for the Content Marketing Lounge website, which kind of looks coffee shop.
It's a coffee shop.
Yeah. Okay.
In fact, it is a coffee shop in downtown Dayton.
Yeah.
Where we're from. That somehow there's a stock photo from a coffee shop that is here in town.
I didn't even realize.
Yeah,
that.
it's from one of the coffee shops downtown.
And so when you redid this website, I think I was asking you, like, why did you pick this picture? Like, is that what you think of as the lounge? And like, we've made jokes about like why I chose the jazzy music that he was like, wow, that's like very loungy. Yep. So then this concept of like what Nathan really pictures this at, like if we were an actual group of people that got together and sat around hotel bar after a conference. It
would sort of have that meetup vibe.
Yeah.
Or the difference is that you can, in a Facebook group, the conversation never has to stop. It's not a couple of hours. It's a place that you can just kind of pop into anytime. And there are people there who are having this sort of ongoing conversation about a topic. And in our case, it's content marketing. So the cool thing, I think, so here's some things. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, should I start a Facebook group?
Yeah.
Let me give you some thoughts on that, because if you're really already somebody who's on Facebook, then that's maybe a good option for you. If you
already know how to use the basic stuff on Facebook.
Spend an hour a day already on Facebook, probably that's a good place.
Yeah, it's you're kind of already your home.
Yeah, you're already your home. If you don't, then don't do it. don't start, because you're gonna have to like flex some new muscles there. The other thing is it takes a lot of work. Like, it really does. Like I'm in there every day, literally every day. I'm screening the 10 people who opt in. I'm moderating comments. I read every post and every comment that happens in the group. And occasionally there's even posts where I can tell, like, people post in there and they think that it's one of those groups that just doesn't have, there's no sheriff.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And that's how people get themselves expelled for things like that. But we'll talk about that here in a minute. But a Facebook group, in my experience, for me anyway, I was already fairly active on Facebook And I tried to do the email list building thing, and I just didn't have the skills for it back then. I do now. Like I've
you know
like
how to
3.5 years later
and broadcast to a list.
Yeah, 3.5 years later, I know how to do email marketing on a personal level, but I never built anything from scratch. And I was trying to do it through ads, and I was spending money to get people to go to blog posts, and then trying to get them to sign up, and I just wasn't good at it yet.
Yeah.
And so I was just flushing money and time and effort down the drain. But a Facebook group has some organic like potential, meaning if you name your group properly, people will search. People who find my group, it's often they'll tell me.
Yeah, I was
searched
flipping through
content marketing
applications today. It's very common.
It's very common for somebody to say, I searched content marketing in Facebook, and your group popped up.
Yeah.
And so people are, the inbound marketing thing is happening. It's just happening in the platform of Facebook. That's how people find my group. So
which and see, and that's the thing, like when I talk about how many of these groups that I'm in and so few of them are professional, I'm so impressed by all the people who were like, well, I was looking for content marketing stuff on Facebook, and I'm like, I don't even think to look for that. They're right. Yeah. Like I'm looking for like podcast groups and comedy stuff and Keanu memes, like stupid stuff like that. So to me, it's almost strange that this has become what it is.
Yeah. Well, and Facebook groups are becoming an even more central part of Facebook. Facebook itself wants to make Facebook more of a central part of it. And you had a thing pop up in your thread.
I just pulled it up. So I took a screenshot. When I first get on, I have an Android phone, and I do probably 95% of my Facebooking on my phone. But I do get on it about once a day. Then I'm an admin of a group on my Mac. But I got this pop-up little ad from Facebook. It's like the very first thing in my feed below like stories, and it just says groups, and it's a little picture ad, and it says groups are now at the heart of Facebook. Go to groups. And I just started getting it maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I've gotten it like 3 times. I think I got it like 3 times in 2 weeks, and each time I think it was a different ad. Even it wasn't even the same ad getting served. Like they have made multiple versions of this ad, and I'm not wholly sure what they're doing or why I'm getting this. I'm guessing it's because I've joined so many groups and I'm now an admin. But yeah, you can tell Facebook is ramping up what groups are and why they care about them. And to be completely honest, with as much crap as there is on Facebook these days, I very often feel like my groups are the reason I stay on Facebook.
Yeah,
because I've left Facebook and I've become inactive on Facebook. The only reason I got inactive again 5 years ago is because I moved 2,500 miles away from my family, or 2,000 miles away from my family, and they needed a way to see what I was doing, that I was alive and well and enjoying myself and traveling and all that stuff. So
yeah, my wife mostly takes care of that. Like she posts
the family
of our
stuff,
kids, and I've told all my friends that if they want to see kid pictures, that they should just become friends with my wife.
The only people that I specifically have like put them first in my feed is like my brother and his wife, because they post pictures of their kids.
I'm really not active on Facebook proper anymore. Even my little shortcut in Chrome doesn't go to Facebook itself. It goes to the group. It just goes into the group homepage.
Yeah, I've noticed. You really don't post anything to your personal at all, hardly.
Not right. I used to, but I just don't. I'm just not.
Yeah.
So, anyway, all that to say, if you want to. The reason that I started Facebook groups is because I was kind of a nobody when I started freelancing, and I wanted to build a name for myself. I wanted to have an audience of people that I could use to either, at the time I was thinking, maybe I'll sell some products, or maybe I'll land some clients, and and I did both of those things, especially clients. Like the Facebook group became for me a place where there was enough activity and enough connections being made that job opportunities started to come through that I wouldn't have gotten any other way.
And this is coming from like members in the group?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was the first thing that started happening. And then on top of it, the combination of having this community of people that I could say like, look, I built this. Here's this very public thing that I've built that has at the time 2,000 people in it, even 1,000 people. When I would combine that with cold email or proposals on job boards, it instantly was a differentiating factor, because most people who are like, say you're putting in for a freelance writing job, right? And you put in for it, and there's like 20 other people who put in on some job board, and they all look the same, right? But how many of those 20 people are going to be able to say, oh, also, like, I'm somebody who understands the broader context of content marketing, and here's the proof.
Yeah,
like, here's this public display of my skills in the world of content. Also, if you just join, like, you can get to know my personality and you can sort of see who I am. And, and they don't have to wonder about who this guy is.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You have a more public persona, internet or otherwise, that, you know, people now have a feeling for you. But I do think it's interesting that you say, you know, when you combine it and you have this broader understanding of content marketing. I mean, we talk about content marketing and what's the point and where did it originally come from, and it's about tribe building.
Yeah, totally.
And like, here's our tribe. Like, this is the tribe.
Like, I'm not even part of one anymore. I'm leading one.
Right.
There's an analogy. One of my mentors, really in this stuff, definitely my mentor was Colin Terrio, who has the Cult of Copy Facebook group, and he was the one that really, for me, when I looked at Facebook groups and I thought, like, how are people using this? And it was Colin. I got into his group, the Cult of Copy, and I specifically remember there was a post he did where he posted his income. Like, he posted a screenshot of
actually sharing, this is what I'm doing. Yeah.
It was like his PayPal receipts for the entire year, and it was like $210,000 or something like that. And this is several years ago. And he's like, yeah, this is all off this Facebook group. And I was just so blown away. There's two moments in my life when I was completely blown away by something that somebody did. One of them was that one, and the other one was when I was listening to Ed Gandia's podcast, which is the High Income B2B podcast, High Income B2B Writers podcast.
Okay.
I may not get that title right. It's Ed Gandia. I was exiting off the freeway to go to work where we used to work, and I was sitting at the light, you know, where you have to kind of turn there.
Yeah.
You know the intersection I'm talking about. And he was reading through his price list about what he charges for things, and he said, "Oh yeah, and my current price for white papers is $6,000. Sometimes even $7,000, and now it's pushing towards $7,000 and $8,000."
Yeah.
And if I wasn't sitting down at that moment, I think I might have had to, because I was about to go to a job where I was making nowhere near that kind of money.
Right.
I wasn't making that much money in a month,
yeah.
like at the place I was working, and I just thought, like, this is the work I'm going to go do in like 10 minutes. I'm going to be sitting in a cubicle doing this kind of work, and if it's that value, and that put me on the path of saying, okay, I got to figure out whether or not this freelancing thing can be something that I can do. And then the second one was when Colin posted his income thing for the group, and he monetizes his group through courses. And I was just like, you can do this from a Facebook group? Like, you can build a Facebook group by yourself and make that amount of money like that. That just blew my mind, that was even possible. And since then, I've started to see authors are using Facebook groups. So Dan Norris, if you're familiar with that, 7 Day Startup is his book. It's also his Facebook group. Talking about content marketing. Ahrefs is another one that has a really good Facebook group.
Okay.
The Ahrefs Facebook group, you would think it would just be like
marketing stuff around using their product.
You think it would be about just about their product.
Yeah.
But what has happened is it's turned into a community of SEO people.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of people in there just discussing SEO topics.
Yeah.
Because Ahrefs has created this community where there's this culture of openness to questions. And so that's really valuable to people.
Right.
That's really valuable and really rare.
It's valuable to members, and it's also incredibly valuable to Ahrefs or whoever is getting that information. Like, here's the need, and here's the problem with our product, or here's, product that doesn't exist yet, or whatever.
Right. So. My pitch for companies, by the way, if you're at a company and you need to pitch this to your boss, whether that's a Facebook group or some other type of forum that you want to create, is that people are online talking about your products right now.
Yeah.
They're going to go online and ask questions somewhere. And if you why not create the community where that's going to happen? Like, why not own that space?
Yeah.
Because if you own that space, then you get to be the one who kind of controls how you get more control over your brand, not less.
Right.
And so I think definitely the danger, some of the companies I may have been working with over the past has always been, we can't put ourselves out there, because if we put our stuff out there like that, then there will be people who come along and complain.
Right.
And we don't want to have people online bad-mouthing our product. they're gonna do that anyway.
Right.
They're doing that anyway.
Yeah, if people come to your website and see nothing but 5-star reviews, they're gonna go look elsewhere to find the 4-star, 3-star, 2 stars, and all the 1 stars. They're gonna find them.
Right.
And so there's so much, what's the word I'm looking for? There's authenticity to the reviews if you let people be honest and you just respond the best that you can.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and so now Ahrefs, like if somebody posts like, "Hey, I'm trying to do this thing and this doesn't work," or "This feature got changed and it sucks," Tim, the owner of Ahrefs, gets to come in behind, gets to comment.
Yeah.
Hey, okay, I understand.
Himself,
this is what this is, and I'm probably 90% of the time when people have questions, if you look closely, it's usually that they haven't understood something about the product that changed. Like they made a change where it's a little bit technical, but the amount of requests that you can get is now limited. And people were really freaking out over that. When you understand what actually happened, though, what happened is just they changed the way they cached their search data. So you could do as many searches as you wanted. You just couldn't refresh that data as often as you used to be able to because it cost Ahrefs a lot more.
Oh, right.
But it doesn't really matter. Like my content marketing strategy and my SEO strategy doesn't change if I'm using data that was pulled 12 hours ago versus now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's not going to make that big of a
It doesn't
difference.
make that big of a difference. So
especially now we're doing, long play
Correct.
content building
Correct.
over time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, don't quote me on the way that Ahrefs works technically. I'm not terribly 100% sure if I said that exactly right.
There's so much squinting going on right now that you guys
I want to
can't
make sure
see.
that I don't misrepresent what they did. I know that I'm able to do what I need to do in their tool.
Yeah.
Based on that change. Like that change did not affect what I or any SEO that I'm aware of. That didn't impact them that much if they knew like how.
I'm sure there's people out there that are like, no, it really does, but they might be few and far between.
Listening,
so.
This is okay. I'm done with my backpedaling on that one. So, all that to say, like, you can create a Facebook group for a company. So Ahrefs is a great example of that. You can create a Facebook group for yourself if you're somebody who wants to become a freelancer or a consultant in particular. So the Cult of Copy is really the best example I know of that.
Okay.
My group is also a good example of that. Colin has used his group mostly to create a following of people who then buy his courses. I have used my group to create a community of people that have bought me connections.
Right.
That led to my work at Grow and Convert. Like I got to work with, I'm not going to name drop a bunch of companies, but several other really big name companies over the years have come through those connections. And then on top of that, there's that social proof really that comes from being the leader of a community like that. It gives me, credibility. Any market I go into, any company that I talk to, I usually don't lead with that fact, but I usually come in at the second level of a sales conversation and I say,
one of those things you can drop.
Yeah. And then I drop the fact that I lead this community and they're like, whoa, like this guy is so different than everybody else. And so now that helps our agency, and that like our agency is connected to that group as well. So all those reasons are reasons to do a Facebook group or to consider a Facebook group. Also, by the way, if you did what I did and you just couldn't seem to, if you kind of were not good at building an email list, maybe try a Facebook group just to see if it works for you.
Fun alternative.
It's free.
Yeah.
It's free to do. So I'll talk here in a minute about how to build to your first 100 members. So I want to give that as a hack in case somebody wants to need it. But if you find yourself thinking about it, here's some things to know about at least how I run my Facebook group. And I want to get back to the thing that shocked you so much was the number of people I blocked. Yeah. So I've blocked 1/3 of the people who have requested. And so let me talk really briefly about why I did that and what it means for the people who are in the community. People they're looking for ways to connect to other people. And I remember being in a corporate job, and the only people I had to learn from were kind of right there around me. And none of the people around me were doing work beyond what I was doing. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to learn email marketing and content marketing, digital marketing, like that stuff. I mean, this is 6, 7, 8 years ago. And I didn't have anybody internally to turn to. And I was working in a company that was very internally focused. Yeah. So they had internal training courses. And I did take a lot of that stuff. But I wasn't learning the new stuff. Like I wasn't able to learn anything new like the newer content marketing things that were happening in the broader world of marketing.
Yeah.
It just wasn't happening inside my company. So I went out looking for places that I could connect to people so that I could learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, Facebook groups was just, I sort of landed. I remember I got connected to this small group of people who I had like its meetup with. And then one of them told me about the Cult of Copy job board, which is like a subgroup of the Cult of Copy. And she said, oh yeah, I sometimes get jobs from there. And because I was in that place where as a freelancer, like I was just starting to freelance on the side.
Right.
I was like, how do you get clients? Where do you get clients?
Mm-hmm.
This is the problem everyone has.
That's one of the biggest things that I refer people to our group for. If I see them post in other groups, I'm in some writer groups, I'm in some like job change groups, and it's always like, I don't know how to get started, or I just got laid off. I need no gaps on my resume or whatever. And I'm like, oh man, like there's so many ways, but come here and get connected.
Yeah. And that's what happened to me. And I found the Cult of Copy job board. And then through that, I found the Cult of Copy. And that's how I kind of came into the world of Facebook groups. And so since then I got active in a number of other groups for a while before I started the Content Marketing Lounge. And I noticed that most online places, they're not really safe. And so when I say safe, I don't really mean that in like the psychology kind of world. What I mean is like, there's a lot of trolls out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And trolls come in lots of different flavors and colors. There are some trolls who are just contrarian individuals.
For the sake of it.
They just, for some reason, take great pleasure in trying to destroy people or to like basically say, hey, you're stupid.
Yeah, put them down some way so that they feel better about themselves.
It's particularly bad when I saw one the other day on Reddit, to the point that I reached out to the guy like separately, like privately.
Mm-hmm.
He posted in one of the marketing groups about like, hey, I'm trying to like get started as a freelancer. I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, can anybody guide me or something? It was a really generic beginner question.
Yeah.
And like the first comment, and it got like a bunch of upvotes, was like, maybe if you just read the sidebar where this question has been asked 1,000 times, you wouldn't have to ask this question. Like a real snarky reply from like the old timer at the end of the bar, basically.
Yeah. Right.
And I was like, dang, like, so if you're this kid, and I think it was a kid, I think it seemed like a young guy. If you're this young guy who's like, hey, like, I'm just trying to get started, can somebody help me? And you just get totally whacked, like, you're not coming back to that community.
Right.
Like, you're never going to post on Reddit again, probably.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that, because a lot of the groups that I have joined or I have seen, there's a 2.0 version or exact same name, but then there's some additional like suffix or whatever to the name. And it's literally because like, well, so many people got in a fight about this subject in this group.
Or we got tired of answering beginner questions.
Yeah, everybody on side A stayed in the group and everybody on side B created another one. I mean, and that happens all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, and that's, I think when you create a group, you're gonna run into this thing where there are going to be people who have questions, and those same questions are going to come up over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a little bit of Groundhog Day.
Yeah, right.
And if you think about it from a community standpoint, that could be a little bit annoying. But if you think about it from a marketing standpoint, what that means is you constantly have people coming in who have the same problem.
Yeah.
And so that means that there are opportunities to sell them your stuff, whether that's a freelancing contract or connect them with somebody else and get a referral for that. Whether that's to create a product and sell them that. These are all things that you can do to get sales leads for you, for your company, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I believe that creating a place, if you're going to do a group, I think it should be a group that is welcoming and where people can get good answers, even if they're new and even if those questions have been asked 4,000 times before.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that before. And it is like, there's always going to be somebody who doesn't know where to look. Yeah. Like, yes, the answers are going to be there and that's going to happen. And it's like, you got to be the kind of person, if you're going to be moderating that group or, helping to run whatever, who is going to be like, all right, nope, I know this is going to happen. Like, we're going to weed through it. All we have to do is tell them the answer is here. And that's the end of it.
Right.
That's the end of it.
Right. And and there's nothing wrong with answering the same question a couple different times. Like as I grow and I learn, I'm able to answer people's questions even better than I could.
Yeah.
A few
or
months and years
faster
ago.
or more thoroughly or whatever.
Right. So those people who come along, and there was someone in my group who unfortunately, I think the phrase she used, she asked a question and somebody responded to her question with she was kind of disagreeing, but she did it in a very polite way. And then the original poster came back in and it said, "Was your personality formed in a car crash?"
I don't even know what that means.
I don't either.
It just feels
I don't either.
like gratuitously offensive in a way I don't even understand.
What happens to people when they get on? It's like when they get behind a keyboard and they're on Facebook, like they become. I guarantee you that person, the person who made that comment, would never say anything like that in real life.
Yeah.
Like to a person face to face ever.
Yeah.
I mean,
and if they did, I don't really want to be friends with them.
Right. Those people are gone. Like when that happens in my group, and it's only I'm talking like a handful of times ever.
Yeah.
I screenshot that person's comment.
Yeah.
I ban them.
Yeah.
Like I don't talk to them. I don't send them a note. I'm not interacting with them anymore. They're just gone, and they're no longer a part of my life.
Yeah.
They're out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I blur out their name because I'm not about like
calling out or
I'm
no
not trying to
necessary.
I'm not trying to unleash like the group fury on an individual person, right? Like that's not what we're about. However, I am going to post that person's comment into the group and say, this is how you get blocked. Like this is how you get booted immediately from the group, because this is not acceptable in here.
Mm-hmm.
And I make it very clear that the trolling and personal attacks, not acceptable.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to create a group where people are going to be welcome to ask questions and then hopefully you get to sell them something,
right?
Like people are not going to post in a place where they feel like they're going to get attacked. Like I give you all of Twitter as evidence.
Right.
Like
what happens. Oh yeah, I'm really inactive on Twitter. Every once in a while I tweet at celebrities. Usually very minor celebrities.
Keanu, you're awesome.
Right, yeah, I haven't done that. But no, I have legitimately tweeted at a couple like very minor celebrities because I know that's a way to get their attention. And when I say minor, I mean minor. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know, a year and a half ago I think I found a guy he was an actor on the 90s show Step by Step.
Okay.
He played JT's best friend, kind of a short guy.
I don't remember
his name is JT. So his name is Jason Marsden.
Okay.
And I remember seeing him in this like made for TV teen movie that was like terrible. And I tweeted at him and he totally tweeted back and was like sending me links to like find the movie. And I was like, that's exactly what I was thinking of. And that's about it. And like to this day, like I was looking at the submission guidelines for McSweeney's the other day. I have like 17 McSweeney submissions in my head that have not made it into a file yet. And I messaged one of my best friends from grad school. I was like, you and we are going to make it our mission to get on McSweeney's. And so I'm reading through all the guidelines and it says, link your Twitter, link your email. If you don't want those things published, tell us. Yeah. And I was like, do I want my Twitter account on stuff? I don't know because I've so rarely tweeted. I've been very afraid to use Twitter. It's kind of there in perpetuity unless you delete things and then you get yelled at for doing a dirty delete. Right, exactly, yeah, as Nathan rolls his eyes. And it's like, oh, but sometimes I am really stupid and I hit send too soon or whatever. So, yeah, Twitter terrifies me in that respect.
It should. I think Twitter, Twitter is created to be this open place of exchange of ideas. And so it can be that. Yeah. But
it's a great way to get attention when you need to get attention. And it's also a great way to get awful attention when you do not want it.
And I think... So. I hate to have to say this, but it's at least 10 times worse for women.
I mean, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but I don't know because I don't pay that close of attention to it. But
there's a small subset
most things in the world are harder for women.
So. There's a small subset of male Twitter users who are on there who are anonymous, who have anonymous usernames, and who are just complete jerks. Like I don't have strong enough language. We try and mark this podcast with the clean lyrics. Yeah.
Or at least we don't have to mark clean it as language. Parental advisory.
Yeah. I would use stronger language. Yeah. If I couldn't, but some of the stuff like I'm gonna forget her name, the Asian actress who was in the latest Star Wars movies.
Oh yes, I don't know her name either.
For just
existing.
And she was great.
Yeah, she was fantastic.
And we're talking about a fairly small percentage of people, but in a place like Twitter, like it creates a place where you just don't want to be there. Like,
Right.
even if you're in a room of 100 people, if there's one person in there who's coming up and yelling in your face the whole time, you just don't want to be there. So, and it's the same thing in a group community. And that's why I love Facebook groups, because I am the admin. And if you give me a problem, you're no longer part of my life.
Right. It's your group and your little circle, and there's the door if you feel like kicking someone out of it.
Not even that. Like, I'm snapping you out of existence. Like,
Yeah.
like, you just don't exist anymore.
Yeah, right.
Because when I block you from the group,
Yeah.
you can't even find the group anymore.
Yeah.
It's like the group no longer exists on Facebook for you.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't just kick people out, I block them.
Right.
And therefore they're
gone.
And
that's a question I'd like you to answer too, because I guess that was a big part of my surprise in seeing that huge number. Was it wasn't 2,500 people denied. It was 2,500 people blocked. And I was like, why are they blocked though?
Yeah. Well, it's because you get one shot. It's because I care a ton about the community, and I care more about the people who are in the community than I do about the people who aren't in the community.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be fair, and I know that sounds harsh.
Yeah, right.
Because I care a lot about fairness and that kind of stuff. But it's my group, and I don't have time to be.
That's the one thing I keep thinking about is like when you have a group this big, when you're getting 10 requests a day, when you take the time to look at everybody's, it's like it takes time, and you really just don't have the time to do it. And it's like if you're gonna just kick somebody out and then they're gonna just reapply, and you have to be like,
or they're
that
gonna
guy
ask me
just kicked
why.
out yesterday. Yeah, exactly. Then they message you and they're asking you why, and then you got to answer that question, and it's like it can literally just become a job too big for any one person to handle. And this operation is still just like basically 1.5 people.
Right.
So
right. And Facebook, Facebook groups, there's some tools in the background, but I can't track who. Like if I just deny somebody entry, I can't really track to see if I've denied them before. They'll just come back.
Yeah. And that's where it would get really confusing really fast.
Yeah. I'm not going to keep like a separate spreadsheet of people that I've denied but not blocked. So
that'd be some next level blocking.
Yeah. Yeah. So trolls is one thing, and to be honest with you, I cover that because I think it's more of a problem for other groups than it is for my group. We just don't have much of that in there because I think groups in general will take the personality of the person that's leading it, and even people who might be in my group, who might be trolls in other groups, they're not going to do that in my group because they know now.
Because they know better.
They know now that it's going to get
them
booted.
This is not the attitude here.
Right. So most places aren't terribly safe places. I try to make mine a safe place, and the best way I know how to do that is to publicly display examples of people getting booted for bad behavior.
Right. So yeah. Please don't do this.
I don't put their name on it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to make it so that we chase down those, like you said, with pitchforks.
Yeah.
But I do want people to know, like, this is what gets you kicked out, and that's rule number 1. Is like, or excuse me, that's actually rule number 2. Basically, if you're a jerk, you get the boot. And the second one it was more of a problem earlier, and it's less of a problem now, which is the spammers rule. And this is, I think, this is specific to certain types of groups on Facebook and Reddit. Although Reddit is really hard on spammers in general. So if you post a link in my group, and I think, and like you just post a link, like
just a link
with no context.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to assume one of two things: either you wrote that, or it's your client.
Yeah. And I actually have a really funny story about this. I'm in a group for a very specific mental health support group on Facebook that is basically the reason I got really big into groups. Like I was already in the Content Marketing Lounge, but like this is like a group that like literally has changed my life. And it's got, I think, 900 members now. So it's really big, and it's kind of a bizarre little subset of another group. And now that I am in content marketing and I'm involved in this group, and you police this so well, I can now spot these from a mile away.
Yeah, the people who are spamming.
So I get into this group, and I think I joined this group last like September. And it was a month or 2 in, I think I actually friend requested one of the admins. I didn't know she was one of the admins. Like we just ended up interacting a lot. I think it's because she's just really interactive or whatever. And so we connect, and so we're like, direct messaging and all that stuff. And then I see one of these pop up in the group, and it's like a mental health, like X signs, you have this disorder or whatever. And I think there was a cap, like they had put text in the caption. It wasn't just the link.
Yeah.
But you basically just saw the link preview, and then it was like whatever the text they'd put in, it was just like a copy paste of the title. I was like, oh, so that's spam. So I immediately take a screenshot of it, send it to her, and I was like, hey, this person who just posted this thing. The admin, yeah. And I was like, hey, just FYI, I just noticed this. And it was actually the second time I had seen that particular user post something like that. I was like, look, this person's literally just here to push their ads on us via content.
Yeah.
Like, and they were like, really? You should be an admin. And I was like, first of all, I'm not helping you admin this group because it's, I mean, like, there's a lot of responsibility when you get into adminning a mental health group to me.
Right.
I am a very active member, but you know, she had no idea, and I could spot it like a sore thumb, you know, like it stuck out really obviously. And her response ended up being like, well, it gets a lot of interaction and people are actually happy to read the articles. So I'd hate to ban the person just because they're technically doing this because it's actually kind of working out.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man. And I think I told her, I was like, if this was my group, they'd be gone.
Yeah.
I just don't have time
Well, that's
for that.
because you're hanging out in the marketing.
Yeah, and it is.
And so you'll have to make those decisions based on your community. You really will.
Yeah.
Because
and sometimes it's fine to leave it.
Yeah. And so my advice and what I've done is I use the Thursday content thread. It's kind of like a pressure release valve because here I have all these content marketers. They're creating all this content. They're like their natural instinct is to just like post their links everywhere they can, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so they want to use Facebook groups and everywhere they can to get some eyeballs on their latest thing. And so we use the Thursday content thread as kind of the container for that.
And there are a lot of groups that function the same way. I'm in other writing groups, not even marketing writing. I mean, I'm just, you know.
Creative writing.
Yes, just blanket creative writing stuff. And occasionally people will blog or they'll get a book published or a short story or something, and you save it for Sundays or whatever day it is that they do that on.
Yeah, and I mentioned this on a previous podcast, but on Reddit, there's the power washing porn subreddit.
Yeah, you did.
Which has nothing.
Each day has its own.
Absolutely has nothing to do with porn. It's all power washing.
I told my best friend and her husband about that because they had just been power washing their like patio the week before, and they were like, "But look where we stopped!
Right.
You can see exactly where we stopped." And even my best friend, was totally geeking out of their power washer.
I was watching it. I was watching one earlier today, and it's hypnotic. But the admins of that group do a really good job because in that group. Occasionally, people will they have this thing. They're like, oh, like it's really great to watch things get cleaned, and so then they'll post little videos of things that are getting cleaned that are not actually power washing. So they're like it's really like somebody was cleaning like dog hair out of a carpet. And it's like, oh my god, how much dog hair is in that carpet?
Yeah.
And you get that same sort of feeling of satisfaction of watching it,
Look how much has been accomplished.
But it's not actually power washing. So they designated Wednesdays as on Wednesdays you can post
non-power
videos,
non-power
washing things.
Oh
and so it goes from this thing that creates this problem where the admins are like, oh crap, did we leave this here? It's not really a part of our group. To this kind of fun thing where on Wednesdays it's you get to see the creative other things being cleaned that are similar to power washing. And so really they do as good a job adminning a group there as any group I've seen. But point being, if you're in a group, but I should say the other place I see lots of spam is the buy sell groups. So the local groups, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I'm in a number of...
I don't think I'm in any explicitly for that.
I'm in a number of sort of yard sale kind of groups around. And boy, man, the ML multi-level marketers,
oh my gosh,
they will nail those groups daily if you're not careful. Whether it's, I won't name them, but that's that kind of stuff. It is very... You'll have to admin that stuff. You have to.
Yeah. And you have to make nuanced calls about what it is. When you say that's actually a great example. Literally today in one of my groups, one of my groups is an anti-MLM group, which is mostly just screenshots of Facebook posts,
really
look
bad
how bad this face. Yeah, exactly. And don't get me wrong, I used to sell an MLM myself, and so I'm on the other side of it and have been there, and I understand it. So I'm not, just talking out of my backside, but that was one of the things somebody posted. Hey, it was in a local moms group, so it was like a local selling. It was a local moms group, and it was, hey, I need to do my so many facials. Would you like a free makeover? And of course, somebody who knows
Oh,
what
man.
this is about,
That
and
really
I
is
personally
borderline.
know what this one's about,
Yeah.
right? Screenshots it, sends it to the admin, and then shows us in this other, takes screenshots of our conversation with the admin in that group, puts it in this other group, like, look at this fight I just got in with this admin. The admin was like, well, it's technically not
Against the rules.
selling.
Yeah.
She's offering facials and makeovers, and there's been a lot of positive response to it, so I'm leaving it.
Yeah,
so again, that's where that kind of like nuance as an admin comes in. Like, you got to make those calls.
Here's my standard: is nobody gets to use my group to sell stuff except for me. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
And there is an exception to that, which is if you are an active member of the group and you're regularly helping people,
Yeah.
I'll let you get away with almost anything.
If you ask first.
Yeah. And even if you don't ask first, most people do ask first.
Yeah.
But being a good member is really, really easy.
Yeah, right.
It's just you comment on a few things, be helpful, and then if you want to promote something, send it to the admin. In this case, it's me.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, Nathan and I have regular conversations about specific members all the time because they pop up so much.
we know who
Because they're
they
just
are.
active and they're not always asking for things. They're usually answering questions.
Yeah. It's Caroline who did put on the
Right.
call for us.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
Raja who
Yep.
like has been in the group since the first 100 people.
Yep.
Like those kind of people. I'll let those people promote in my group. Like they need to run it through me. Like I need to make sure it's okay.
Yeah,
but in many cases, I'll do it for them. Like
Yeah.
I'll post something on their behalf because they've earned that right.
Yeah.
Right. So you get to make those calls. And again, I'm a dictator. Like like
Again, I was like, why are they blocked and not just excluded? But yeah,
I'm a
there
nice
does come a point
dictator,
where,
but like I don't have to be fair. I don't have to make the same call on one person as I do on another person, and I get to make those calls based on whether or not my North Star is always like, is this going to be valuable for the group? Like, do I think there's real value here? And I've had several times where people posted things. There was one about a month ago where somebody posted like a list of the top performing content or something. And I looked at it and I'm like, man, this is really interesting. Like, this is really helpful. And I commented, I said, this is against the rules. You posted it wasn't Thursday. Like, it's your own thing.
Yeah.
But it was to a spreadsheet, not a blog post.
Yeah.
And there wasn't an upsell on it. There wasn't a content upgrade on it.
Yeah.
It was just value.
It was
it
just
really
information.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And since it's to a Google sheet, like he's not getting a Google Analytics ping on that. Like he's not,
and there
he's
are
not building
ads embedded in it, so he's not making 3 cents
Correct.
every time we view the article or
he's
whatever.
not. I didn't go on a retargeting list because of that. So like I get to make those calls, and like I'm like, this is against the rules, but it's really valuable, and it's to a Google sheet, and I think it's awesome, so I'm letting it stay. And I usually, if there's something like that, if I see something that's against the rules that I'm going to let stand, I'll comment that this is against the rules.
Yeah.
However, I'm letting it stand for this reason. And it's always because I think it's cool or it's valuable. Taylor Jacobson, who's the founder of FocusMate, did something totally against the rules, which is he posted his brand new thing into my group years ago. And I looked at it. In fact, I looked at it. I think I looked at it with the intention to ban him. But I looked at it and I'm like, this is really cool. Like what he's doing was really cool. And then we became friends. And like I've been a proponent of his work ever since. So anyway, let me get through the rest of this because we're going long on time. But some other things that I have in my group. So I have 5 rules, which are the first one is don't post your content unless it's in the Thursday content thread, or you are allowed to post content as a response to somebody else's question. Like if somebody asks a question and you have written like a guide that answers that question, I do allow that. Number 2 is we keep it positive. Like that's the no trolls rule. 3 is no politics. Politics is just like, I have political views. You have political views. Right. We talk about those. Yeah. But it's not happening in my group.
Yeah. You
it just
hopefully
isn't.
would not know what that is in the group.
There are go to Reddit and find your thread of choice, right? Find your subreddit of choice, and you can pontificate about whatever you think about the world for however long you want. And we're just not going to have those conversations in my group because people freaking lose their minds. Like that's, and if you're doing if you're doing a group for business or marketing, I strongly advise you to adopt that rule. Yeah. You say, we're not against politics. We like politics. We have politics, but you're not going to talk about them in here. Like these are not the place for that. I draw a really hard line on that too. Job listings, those pop up. I think they're going to pop up more and more. Eventually, as the group gets really big, I'll probably have to do what Colin did and create a separate job board.
Mm-hmm.
For now, like, I'm fine with it. I do have, if somebody's posting a full-time listing, I'm fine with that. And if somebody wants to put in for a freelancer or whatever, I did finally put in a line that says if you're looking for a contractor, consultant, or freelancer, then it needs to be at a minimum of $30 an hour, like, or whatever the equivalent is for a retainer or a flat rate pricing. And that was because I had a couple of listings that were just
really marginal.
Yeah, that I felt like they were kind of content mill kind of things.
Yes, yeah, I got that feeling from one of the links that I saw.
And I just, again, it's not that I'm against those kinds of listings. And if you're writing at lower than $30 an hour, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
It's just that in my group,
yeah,
like the job listings that I want to provide for people in my group, I want them to be high quality listings.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's the only thing I want people to have to see. I don't want an established freelancer to come into my group and then like click on a job listing there and see that it's like a penny a word kind of thing. Like, if you're working at those kinds of places, I'm not morally against it.
Right.
Although maybe a little bit, like, we can have that conversation. But for the purposes
that's a whole other podcast.
For the purpose of this rule, I don't have that rule there because I'm morally against low-paying jobs.
Yeah.
I have that rule there because of what I want the value to be for the group.
And everybody's got to start somewhere. But
yeah, absolutely.
We're also about getting paid what we're worth and striving to increase our prices as we get better over time.
I hope you make way more than $30 an hour.
Yeah.
So, also no work for exposure kind of things. That's not going to be, my group is not going to be a place for that. Again, there's nothing really wrong with that. I just don't want those listings in the feed.
I think there's something really
there could be. We should do another podcast.
We should do another podcast. Yeah. We'll add that to the list of topics.
It's also not the strategy that I would recommend if you're getting started. However, if you take Client Acquisition 101, which is free at thecontentmarketinglounge.com, you can learn why. And then rule 5 is just I reserve the right to remove any post or any member for any reason, with or without warning.
It's like the disclaimer I had when I was teaching that this syllabus can be changed by me at any time.
Yeah, I'm a dictator and don't question me, basically.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So, 2 more things real quick. The vast majority of those 2,638 people who've been blocked from the group are blocked from the beginning. So they didn't even get in. And so people will request to become part of my group, and they have to face 3 questions. And these questions have been these questions for years now. The questions are basically, the first question is, how did you find the group? And then I basically say, this is a group for discussion, not promotion. Do you promise not to post links to your stuff or your client's stuff in the group? There's a Thursday thread where you can post links. And so people will almost always say yes to that. Mm-hmm. If they say, I solemnly swear, they are instantly my friend. Because if you're making jokes in the questions, I like you immediately.
I agree.
And then I have my third one is a very strategic question, and I want to tell people why I have it phrased the way I do. The third question, I'm breaking all the grammar rules on this one. It's not even a full sentence.
It's very curt.
It says flight, comma, teleportation, comma, or the ability to start and stop time on command, question mark. And those could have been anything, like invisibility, like the powers don't matter. And I don't care what your answer is.
Yeah.
What I care about is whether or not you are good enough at communicating online that you understand the type of question that I'm asking, and whether or not you're game to give me a good answer. So I'm looking at. So
are you gonna play along?
Yeah. Will you play along? Are you going to be somebody who's going to be a fun member of this group? Like, because that's who I'm looking for. There's 6 people right now who are currently under the member request. So they've requested to be part of my group, and I've got them here on my computer. And so I'm looking at the screen where I can see their answers. And of those, the first guy didn't answer the questions. So currently it says requested 6 hours ago. So I'll give him another 18 hours. I usually give it a day. Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't answer my questions, he doesn't get in.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't get in, he doesn't get declined. He gets blocked.
Yeah. Is there a way to ping people to remind them, or does Facebook do that automatically?
Facebook will sometimes do it automatically. Okay. Yeah.
Because I've noticed when I join groups, there's very often questions to answer, and it immediately pops up with the questions when you go to join, and you answer them. And I still have a Facebook notification in my notification saying, you've got to answer some questions first. And it's like,
Right.
why? So clearly they're pinging it immediately.
Facebook will sometimes.
But I don't know if they ping it again after.
They'll sometimes notify you afterwards.
Okay.
But if a screen pops up in your face after your request to join my group
Yeah,
and
right.
you don't answer those questions immediately,
Yeah.
come on now. That's
How
not,
much do you really want to be in a
how
group,
much do you
basically?
really
Or
want-
are you just joining every group you can join or for whatever
Right,
reason?
right.
Yeah.
So the first guy didn't join the group. I suspect he's not going to make it in. The second person, her answers are, how did she find the group? Answer, Facebook search.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a
Basic.
common one. Do you promise not to post your stuff? Answer, yes. Okay. And then flight, teleportation, or the ability to stop and start time on command. And her answer is yes.
Oh,
I see this a lot.
do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so what does that say to you?
that they have no idea what the question means.
Right, exactly. And
Yeah.
so unfortunately that means that they're not good enough at they're just not good enough at this style of communication
Right.
to really
Or they
follow.
were rushing, and the first
Exactly.
two were yes, and so they put a third yes.
So
or
I
something,
don't automatically block them based on that answer.
Yeah.
What I'll do at this point is I'll look at their profile
Mm-hmm.
and I'll try to see what are the other things that are on their profile. And if I see that they're using Facebook kind of as a human being,
Yeah.
if they're not just posting like a bunch of spammy links to things, then maybe they'll get in.
Yeah.
Even though, so that third one is a red flag for me, not a yes no.
Right.
If I look at their profile and like there's nothing there, or if they joined
It's just a bunch of links.
if they joined Facebook like 2 days
March
ago,
of 2019. Yeah.
who do you know that uses Facebook like a normal person who joined Facebook
Yeah. Right.
two days ago? Like nobody, right? But if I see, so here's another good example. Here's the third person has not answered my questions, right?
Uh-huh.
However, I can see that she joined Facebook on July 9th, 2007.
Okay.
So that's
So
very normal.
Yeah, very long term.
Very normal. So 2007, 2008 is when Facebook kind of became
Picked up.
what it is today.
Yeah.
So most people who are using it regularly have join dates of that date. She was in New York. She studied freelance journalism. So there's some signals here to me that she's probably a good prospect for my type of group.
Right.
I now have not looked at her profile yet. And she would be one of the only types of people that I would let into the group, even if she doesn't. So
Mhm.
that does occasionally happen.
Yeah. Just based on additional vetting information you can get from
I'm
the
a
profile.
I'm a marketer.
Yeah, right.
And I'm looking to see if whether or not she looks like a good lead.
Right.
Like that's what I'm looking for. And in fact, in this case, I just noticed that she was invited by somebody that I know. So
Oh,
she's
there you
going
go.
to get in.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
If they get invited by somebody else that's already
Yeah.
a member, then I'll let them.
Yeah.
And that makes sense because knowing who that is, who invited her, that's exactly the kind of person that she would invite to the group.
I invite a lot of people, but it's usually they're not my friends. They're people in other groups.
From other groups.
Yeah, and so I'll usually immediately I'll Slack at Nathan and be like, "Hey,
Somebody
this person with
yeah.
this name is coming. They're for me."
Yeah. So pretty typical. Like the fourth person, her answers are searched on Google, yes to the second question, and then flight. So that person's probably going to make it in. Again, I won't know until I look at the profile. Because
Right.
even if they give me good answers here and I look at their profile and I see a bunch of spam,
Mhm.
they're not going to get in.
Yeah.
And if they don't get in, they're going to get blocked. So that's kind of a hard line I take on that kind of stuff. And that, to me, that filtering process, I'm going to say that 97% of the people that I blocked happened right here
Yeah,
on this screen.
The
Not
approvals
people,
page.
not people who've come in
Yeah.
and been spammers or trolls and then got booted out. We actually have very little of that happens. And I think we have so little of it that happens because I screen people so heavily here
Mhm.
that you could just...
It's not that. Yeah, the problems aren't as bad once they get in.
Right.
There's less people to boot.
Spammers
inside.
spammers on your Facebook group are going to be spammers elsewhere.
Yeah.
They're spammers by nature. And so you can usually see pretty quickly whether or not
Yeah.
that's going to be the case.
And
So-
if we just don't put the raisins in the cookie dough to begin
Oh,
with, there are
gosh.
no raisins to pick out.
Exactly. That's exactly the right analogy. So really quickly, let me tell you, if you want to start a Facebook group, here's how to get your first 100 members, right? Because that's the question, right? Oh, it sounds great. I'd love to have a Facebook group, but how do I get members? Here's a strategy that you can use that I used for the first 100 members. The first thing you want to do is you want to spend 4 weeks joining other Facebook groups that have overlap with yours. Okay. Step 1, join other Facebook groups that have overlap with yours. In my case, that was marketing groups and copyright.
Yep.
Post once or twice a week into each one of those groups. So you want 5 to 10 groups total is where you want to. And then just like post don't post one thing to all 10 of those groups.
Yeah, right. No,
Like,
it's got to be relevant to
post
each
one thing in
and
one group,
Yeah.
and then maybe 4 or 5 days later, you can post a version of that to a different group. Make it your absolute like best, most helpful stuff, right?
Yeah. Or question even. And there's a lot of times I'm in a lot of groups that overlap, and you see cross-posted
Yep.
in the thing, because they're saying, look, I need help with this. I'm asking 3 different groups.
Yep, that's great. Anything you can do to start a discussion or to provide some value to the group, to those groups, is great. What that will do is it'll start to get your face in front of the people in those groups. And the reason you want to do that is because over the next 4 weeks, I want you to make a list of the people who are the most active in those 4 groups, or in those 5 to 10 groups that you joined. And those will be people who are posting original content. So they're not the admin.
Yeah.
Okay, not the admin of the groups, but there's somebody else in the group who's posting stuff that's helpful. And eventually you'll start to see people who are posting helpful things in these other groups.
Right.
And you're like, man, I'd love to have somebody like that in my group.
Yeah.
So wait for them to post something great. Here's what you do. You start your group.
Yeah.
Name it something simple. Don't name it like something weird. Like if you have a group about swimming, name it like Swimming with Katie.
Yeah, right.
Because that's how the organic thing happens. Like if people search swimming,
if people are literally looking for content marketing, they need to be able to find content marketing.
They need to be able to find content marketing, right?
I just reposted an article today on LinkedIn about jobs and how they're all saying, like, are you a marketing rock star? And
Exactly.
It's like, except that now it doesn't say that you're a content marketer.
Right,
and people
right.
are searching for content marketing jobs and they're not finding them.
So keywords are a thing. So keep it something. Cult of Copy, great example. The Content Marketing Lounge, a good example. That's how people will find your group over time, but they won't find it at the start. So name it something simple. When after you've done the work to kind of put your face into these other groups, find somebody who's posted something interesting, and then when they post it, send that person a private message and say, hey, I loved this post that you did. Can I share it in my new group? It's only I've only got a few members over here, but I'm trying to provide them some value. Like, would you mind if I shared it over here? They'll always say yes. Because everybody, if you ask somebody, like, hey, this thing that you wrote was awesome, can I share it in my group? It doesn't matter if you have 10 people. They'll always say yes. And then when they do, just say, if you want to come post it yourself, like, you're welcome to. And they'll join your group and they'll post their stuff in your group. And all of a sudden you have somebody new who will post amazing original content in Facebook groups, because they're already doing that in other groups, right? And so if you do that with 100 people, like if you over time, for the next couple of months, find 100 people that have posted something awesome, reach out to them, ask them to share it in your group. First thing you do is you ask them if you can share it in your group. Yeah. But then what happens is they'll just come over and do it.
Yeah, right.
And then just like that, you have 100 people who are already, like, you're not just getting random people who will come in and be like sit in the background.
It's the people you want.
You've collected for yourself 100 people who are conversational type people already. They're active people, and so those people will be posting and commenting, and all of a sudden you've got like 100 rock stars that you started your group with. After that happens, once you start to get some like traction there, you need to be posting every day. Like, post once a day in that first phase. And then these people, who are all probably better than you, will start to see you as somebody who's awesome. Yeah. Because you just created this really awesome little community of rock stars. And then that thing begins to have some momentum. So you can do that with 1,000 people. Like, you can continue to do that for as long as you want. Right.
Or 4,300 people, or however many.
Well, for me, after I got to about 100, it started to have its own momentum. It had its own momentum.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It will, if you start with that 100, you can make it to that 4,300.
The Facebook algorithm is really, really smart. Yeah. And so Facebook started to see that the conversations that were happening in my group were active, and people, like, there's lots of comments and likes and things like that. And so when people searched content marketing in the toolbar, even when my group was pretty small, my group started to pop up as an option. And that's what will happen with anybody. If you could create a group that's active, Facebook
there's
itself,
people actually posting in it regularly.
Facebook itself will identify that as a group to recommend in its search algorithm. Right. So, and then after that, it's just inbound marketing. Like, you'll start to get listed. Like, my group is listed in, a dozen or so top Facebook groups for writers, top Facebook groups for marketers. Nice. And I see them. There's one on Plannable.io. Like, I see that come in every now and then. They'll say, I found it in an article on Planable.
Nice.
So that's it. I mean, there in 2 minutes, I've just like given you all of the secrets that you need to know.
And then eventually, we talk again. Nathan talks about how he's a marketer and he's basically vetting leads. Like, obviously, everyone that's in the group, we hope they're there because they're getting something out of it and not just because they're waiting for us to sell them something. But this past weekend, I had the sheer delight of going to see Maria Bamford in Dayton, here in downtown Dayton. And her opener was Jackie Cation. And I know comedian Jackie Cation, but I did not know she was going to be there. So I was delighted this other comedian also knew was opening. And I got up through the line. I waited to meet them both. And I talked to Maria and I was like, oh, you're such an inspiration. And I love you so much. And all this, and I gushed or whatever. And she didn't have any merch left. And there were millions of people waiting to talk to her. So then I go over and I talk to Jackie. And I was like, Jackie, do you have anything left to sell me? I just want to give you my money. And she's like, I got 1 pin left. I was like, take my $10. Because I loved what she did. And I was here for it. And like, I literally just wanted to give her my money because she has given me so much like a value in the comedy, humor, whatever. And so hopefully when we talk about when we post things about how would you monetize this group, it's coming back to like, well, what are you getting out of it in the first place too? Like, is this the kind of community that we've built that you feel is valuable enough that you would even want to somehow buy something?
Yeah, and monetization is really, we'll talk about that probably on a future podcast and an article. But what happens is when you create a place where people love, like they're fine. Like they want you to create a product for them.
Yeah.
Like Colin's the best example of that. Like he posts like a thing that like, hey, I'm creating a new product for you guys. Come give me your $200. And people like flood the PayPal button.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
So that's how the $200,000 a year happens for him. Because
and I was just gonna say part of earning that money is being a very kindly dictator as you let people into your group. So
it's not just the product itself that people are paying for.
Yeah.
They're paying him because they trust him. They trust him. Right. They've come to trust him as somebody who provides something of value. Yeah. So they're more than happy to buy a product.
One of my favorite groups to follow is one of these podcast spinoffs. There's a huge crafters group, Crafts and Arts. And people constantly post, hey, I've got an extra $50. My husband and I just moved into a new place. We need a painting on our wall. Send me your links. I want to give you my money. And and it's a community where it's like, look, I'm going to buy something. I want to buy it from you.
They'd rather spend that money with people where they're part of a community, within the community that they're already a part of.
And it's got this great little co-op feel to it, Yeah. So.
And especially if you do it in a market that is a little jaded, like marketers.
Yeah, right. Where we know everyone's always trying to sell us something. We're gonna have to buy it. I'd rather buy it from you.
if you can build some trust in a market like that.
Yeah, it's very true.
I think that's a special thing. So
very true.
Hopefully that was helpful. You don't have to necessarily go down the path. There's actually very few companies, relatively speaking, who are using Facebook groups and communities to do this kind of work. Like,
it's ramping up, clearly.
Facebook, you can see the trends. And if I can make an analogy, in the world of Google and inbound marketing, you can see where Google wants to go, right? Mm-hmm. Google wants to go the path of quality.
So exactly.
They're going to continue to reward quality with their algorithm over time. And so the hacks that work today won't work in the future.
Yeah.
But I can align my content strategy with where Google wants to go. And you can see that on Facebook too. You can see where Facebook wants to go. They want to be the place where people go for communities. They don't want Reddit to be a thing. They want Facebook to be the home for those kinds of things. And like you, for a lot of people, groups have become the center of their experience on Facebook.
Yeah, it really has.
Rather than the feed, because for various reasons, in my case, I just got tired of seeing politics.
I was going to say, there's way too many political friends and family members to fight with. So,
for a whole host of reasons. It's fun to be in the U.S. right now for all of you people who are not in the U.S.
That's sarcasm for anyone who can't see Nathan's face.
That kind of stuff makes it hard for me to stay on Facebook. However, there's groups, and so not just my own group, but other groups that I'm a part of that I'm active in continue to be a source of value for me. So that can be a great marketing channel as well.
All right.
I think that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. There's the full story behind the raisins, ladies and gentlemen.
I will continue to ban people. I will continue to protect my group and the community like a proud father.
Yeah, that's the sense I get. So.
And that's going to go on for as long as Facebook is a thing.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Yep.